Kia ora, I'm Danielle. Very nervous to be standing up in front of everybody. I will be reading off of my notes today. Thanks, Zeb, for that really awesome story. Yeah, that was really lovely. And for the opportunity to speak today. So just to introduce my professional self, I like to think of myself as an integrated systems thinker committed to taking a holistic approach to addressing some of today's really complex global issues, but locally. I am an earth consultant, social scientist, and PhD candidate at the University of Otago, where my research is focused on the future of Aotearoa's agri-food system through understanding a diverse set of stakeholder perspectives, narratives, relationships, and values with the land. So 2 years ago, I found myself attending my first ever Future Fennawa Summit on Montana Flat. I was unaware that I was walking into a community of change agents, like-minded regenerates, and lifelong friends who are bringing some of today's really challenging, hard, and heavy climate change conversations onto the land and into the hearts of those that attended. Zeb's vision to shift these conference rooms conversations onto the farm have really rooted them in the reality and the practicality of the land we're reconnecting with, and I feel really grateful to be here, so thank you. At its foundation, Future Fennawa and the people who come into contact with it feel like my family. They share my deepest values and embody a vision of an earth that I would be really proud to call home. So naturally, when Zeb asked if I could speak about my research and my relationship with Future Fennawa, it was a little hard to say no. Future Fennawa has provided me with a space a really safe space to hold my interconnected experience of the world, share it with those around me, and work together to create a shared vision for the future. But it's also been so much more than the actionable steps that we take in fostering regenerative projects or actions. It's been a part of my personal journey, allowing me to not only see myself and honor the work that I do, but also to honor my worldview. So as I thought about how to share my research, I realized that rather than diving straight into the academic complexities, I could tell you a story about a farmer named John. John's experiences reflect the many of the challenges that most of the participants in my research have encountered, and his journey speaks to the larger questions we all face about our connection to the land and the systems that shape our lives. So I want to start off by grounding my story in something personal, my understanding of self, and my journey with the land. So my understanding of self has evolved over time and is a key driver behind my research. I was raised in a bicultural household in South Africa, where my morals and values were shaped by its culture. At 18, I moved to the United States, where I developed my adult sense of self, influenced by American culture. This really left me in a place of not feeling at home in any country and always feeling a little bit misunderstood. So when I asked myself what home truly meant to me, I realized that I am at home with the earth below my feet and the sky above. Home is the courage to look within, to find acceptance beyond the self, and to recognize that I'm in a constant relationship with the land from which I'm not separate. There wasn't one defining moment when I consciously understood my interconnected existence with the earth, but rather a web of moments that upon reflection made me realize I had always known that I am not separate from her. The love, care, and compassion I show myself translates to the love, care, and compassion that I show for the land. When I began to understand this, I saw that my choices as an individual could set in motion a pattern for the world around me. These decisions build the reality that we live in, which is why my research focuses on human values, narratives, practices, and relationships with place. Now, before we dive into John's story, I want to share why I'm telling it, and I want to note that John is a fictional character, but like I already said, represents the stakeholders in my research. The choices that we make every day, how we treat ourselves, how we engage with the land, and how we view our connection to the world, they're deeply interwoven. They shape the systems that we inhabit and the future that we co-create. John's struggles are not just his own, they reflect the larger issues of disconnect between human values, our relationship with the earth, and the agri-food system that we rely on. So John's story isn't about understanding how our interconnectedness with the land influences the way we farm, live, and make decisions. When we realize that the health of the earth is inseparable from our own well-being, every choice we make, no matter how small, ripples through the world. John's journey highlights how transformation begins from within, through compassion, conscious choice-making, and reshaping the systems around us. His story asks us to reflect on our personal values, on how our personal values influence the choices that we make within the systems we operate, and how those systems need to change to support the long-term health of both people and the land. Okay, so let me tell you about John. John is a farmer in the heart of Aotearoa, New Zealand. His farm has been in the family for generations, passed down from his father and his grandfather before him. He loves the land deeply. It's part of his identity. John knows every inch of the farm, the crevices, the streams, the animals. His cows and sheep are companions, each with its own personality. He spends hours walking through the paddocks, tending to his animals, caring for the fields, and ensuring that the trees grow strong and tall. He inherited way more than just the farm. He inherited a deep devotion to the land, a way of life. But John isn't just a farmer. He's a steward of the land. His sense of responsibility extends far beyond his farm gates. He understands the land's health is a gift that requires nurturing, so he carefully considers the chemicals he uses, always seeking alternatives to minimize harm. He takes great care in all aspects of his farming practices, making sure that everything is always in balance. Each morning, as the sun rises over the misty hills, John checks on the animals, ensuring that they have enough food, fresh water, and shelter. He pauses to breathe in the cool, earthy air, feeling gratitude for the land that provides him with life and for the love it allows him to share with his family. This land is our legacy, he tells his children. We must care for her just as she has cared for us. But despite his deep love for the land, John finds himself torn. The pressures from the larger global agri-food system, the corporate interests, government policies, financial institutions, and complex supply chains seem to prioritize profit over environmental stewardship. John is forced to meet quotas, to farm more intensively, and to push the land beyond its natural limits to meet global market demands. John competes with farms that prioritize higher yields over environmental care. He sees the land he loves deteriorating under the weight of synthetic fertilizers and pesticides. The agri-food system he's part of is more complicated than it appears. It's intertwined with international trade agreements, corporate interests, and policies that don't reward nature-positive practices, but rather fast, high-volume production. John's efforts to farm sustainably feel increasingly out of reach. He's trapped in a cycle of decisions he doesn't want to make, but has little choice but to follow. John's struggles, though deeply personal, resonate far beyond his farm. They echo the larger, often unforeseen forces that shape the systems we all have to navigate. These systems, designed around short-term profit, are not just abstract concepts. They have real-world consequences that ripple out, affecting everything from the health of our environment to our daily lives. John, as a farmer, feels these pressures acutely, but his challenges are not his alone. We too find ourselves caught in cycles that often don't serve the greater good, whether as consumers, citizens, or policymakers. The systems in place may leave us feeling disempowered, trapped in patterns we didn't choose, and at times unsure how to break free. As consumers, we may feel the tension in our choices every day. From what we choose to buy, from what we buy to how we interact with the world around us, each decision has an impact. Like John, we may struggle to make decisions that align with our values while navigating the complex web of market demands, convenience, and cost. Our consumption habits either reinforce or challenge the very practices that John strives to uphold on his land. Meanwhile, policymakers, tasked with balancing economic growth, political pressures, and the urgent need for environmental action, face their own set of challenges. The decisions they make are not only shaping the future of agriculture, but also influencing the health of communities and ecosystems across the globe. As citizens, we are often caught in a similar dilemma. How can we advocate for change when the systems we operate within seem so resistant to it? John's journey, though specific to farming, is a reflection of the broader struggles we all face. It's a reminder that real transformation begins within. When we see how interconnected we are with the land, with each other, and with the systems we participate in, we begin to realize the power we have to change the course of our future. Every choice we make plays a role in either perpetuating or challenging the systems around us. Whether it's reducing our carbon footprint, supporting regenerative farming, or advocating for policy change, our actions matter. We're all connected to this larger system. What happens to the land, to farmers like John, happens to all of us. And when we begin to take responsibility for the systems that we inhabit, we realize that transformation starts with us. We have the power to be a part of the solution. By embracing compassion, not only for John, but for everyone affected by these systems, we can work together to create the change we seek. John's story does make me feel a little uncomfortable and a little bit uneasy because it doesn't really offer a simple answer or a quick fix. It reflects the real, often difficult realities that many of us face when trying to do the right thing in a system that seems stacked against us. But it's also a call to action, a reminder that the way forward is through collective, thoughtful change. John's journey isn't finished, and neither is ours. We all have a role in shaping how this story ends. Instead of focusing on individual solutions, we must look at the systems that are holding us back. The emotional burden John feels as he struggles to do right by the land is something we all need to reflect on. His journey asks us to consider how we, as individuals, communities, and as a collective, can transform the systems that stand in the way of meaningful change. So this isn't about elevating one type of farming over another. It's about recognizing that we are all a part of the same system. When we listen to stories like John's, we're invited to understand that these are some complex realities that we all face. In doing so, we can work together to create systems that are more compassionate and sustainable. So the systems we navigate may seem too vast to change, but true transformation begins when we recognize our role within those systems. Each choice we make sends ripples through the world. So by making choices that reflect our values, we align ourselves with the possibility of change. It's not about single-handedly shifting the world, but about understanding that together we have the power to reshape the systems that shape our lives. So I share John's story not to point fingers at those who feel trapped by these systems, but to invite you to feel compassion for John, for the land, and for all of us who are navigating systems that seem a little bit out of our control. By hearing his story, we see reflections of our own struggles. His challenges are not just his, they're ours too. So the story is asking us to show compassion, not just for him, but for ourselves and for others who feel caught in these complex systems. When we cultivate compassion for ourselves, we gain the emotional strength to act with kindness towards everybody else. This creates a cycle of transformation where we can move from blame to responsibility. So through compassion and collective action, we can begin to create a world that really reflects the change that we wish to see. So as you reflect on the weekend ahead, I invite you to consider what your values are, what choices you will make that will align with the world that you wish to create, because every small compassionate action counts. Thank you. Thank you.